Once more, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for this month's regional webinar, and special thanks to our Eastern Pennsylvania chapter for sponsoring. Definitely great to have our presenter, Dr. Bill Brantley, here today. And let's just take a look at the next slide to set some expectations.
Oh, yeah. So here we go.
Yes, so very soon I'll stop talking and the presentation will start. It's great to see those of you who are comfortable being on video. Always good to see you. And for the rest of the presentation, whatever is most comfortable for you, of course, do that so that you can relax and enjoy. I will be paying attention to whether folks are on mute or not during the presentation. I mean, obviously come off mute to for Q&A or any questions, but so that we get a nice clean recording, I will kindly put you on mute if I'm hearing any sounds that might be disrupting. And we've already got some great communication going in the chat box. Keep that up. I'll be paying attention to it, and we'll take questions throughout and make sure everything is covered. One thing to note is that Bill is not able to see the chat based on his setup, but I will be paying close attention to it and making sure that when the time is right, when there's a break in the action, your question or comment will be represented. And then finally, the recording and slides will be available through your chapter after this, if that helps you understand what you may want to take notes on and what you may just wait for the recording for. Next slide, please, Bill. Dr. Bill Brantley has been a citizen developer since the early 1990s when he created WordPerfect macros to automate his paralegal work. He is the president and chief learning officer of BASA, where he provides consulting services in digital transformation projects. He is a certified project management professional, a certified agile project manager, an accredited professional in business analysis, and is certified in disciplined agile. He's an adjunct faculty member for the University of Louisville, the University of Maryland, the author of The Persuasive Project Manager and 4 Scenarios for the Future of the Federal Government. Sounds like we will have a lot to learn from Bill, so please take it away, and thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, and the funny thing is that, I still teach classes at University of Maryland, University of Louisville, and whenever I mention the word WordPerfect and macros, just get some stares from my students, and it just kind of reminds me, yeah, I've been around for a little while. So, and that's why I want to kind of bring up that, the citizen developer stuff sounds new, and it started kind of coming into the literature, and I say, the IT literature by a group like Gartner. I don't know if you're familiar with Gartner, but they're an IT consulting firm. They started calling folks who build applications by themselves with what we call low code and no code tools, which means that it's kind of more drag and drop. I guess the best way to think about this is like think about Lego blocks. And you actually have some languages out there that you can just pick up a brick and drag it and drop it on another brick, and you connect functions and connections there. So you may have been familiar with this with people that create their own Excel spreadsheets with some formulas, or they have an Access database. So there's very little, not that much coding in there, or very little code they need. And the tools have just gotten more and more advanced. So their famous tool I like to use is bubble.io. And that's a website there at work at Navy, and also for my personal stuff. I use Microsoft's Power Platform, which has a drag and drop. If any of you have Salesforce, and Salesforce can be considered one of the pioneers in no code, low code. They made it so that you could pretty much click and select the way you want to, and you didn't have to really jump into the code unless you wanted to and build your application. So it's been around, it's been kind of around you folks, and you just may have not noticed it. But it's one of the things about low code, no code is that the tools themselves are becoming more powerful. Okay, and that end users now can build departmental, enterprise, even public applications. And if you go out there like bubble.io, they have this little success gallery, and you have people building companies, actual companies, $1 million, $1 billion companies using no code, low code. And you can see some of these folks that do things like, like Uber, and they kind of build an Uber app using low code, no code, or they build their own kind of Twitter or whatever. And it's becoming a really important part of organizations. And I'll give you some statistics here in a moment. But I want to go ahead and run our first poll if we can, because I want to get a little pulse, reading out there about if you've heard of citizen developers. Are you aware of citizen developers in your organization? And just kind of get an idea of what my audience has here. So go ahead and answer this. All right. Okay. Don't know. No. Okay. That's fine. I can see this right now. So we got 14 to 15 answering here. And most of you say no. And some of you say don't know. And that's not surprising, because when I talk to one of my training and development friends out there in DC, in the Washington, DC area, they're totally, I never heard of this before. And the reason I've heard of this, because I used to be an IT project manager, and I kind of backed into training and development. So that's how I kind of kept up, that's why I kind of knew it was out there. And we can go ahead and, I'm going to go ahead and take these off here. So, it's a new area though, if you're training and development, that we can really make an impact for organizations. And I'll give you the case here in a moment, but let me just give you some more statistics on why it's so important and what's happening here. In 2022, which of course this year, and actually this figure is small, this figure actually has been eclipsed now. So the no-code, low-code industry right now, it's above 21.2 billion, according to Gartner's latest research. It's really jumping ahead. A large part of it is because Salesforce, Microsoft, and the other low-code, no-code applications are doing a bang up job of advertising their tools and getting people interested in it. Also, another reason why is we just don't have enough software developers. And there is a worldwide shortage of software developers, people that are skilled in this. And in many organizations, they're finding that they have 4 to 5 times more no-code, low-code developers than they have actual software developers. And organizations are relying heavily on them. So by 2023, and actually, I think it's almost now, half of all enterprises, they're going to be using low-code, no-code platforms. And they're going to have people, these citizen developers, these folks that don't have the traditional IT skills or no IT skills, building these apps. And these are not just toy apps too. One thing I like to tell folks is that these are becoming mission critical apps. And in one of my classes, I give this great case example from a bank in Australia, Bendigo, which they decided to refocus on their customers, and they had to build all these applications. They just didn't have enough software developers and talent. So they trained their folks in citizen development. And these people built 25 mission critical applications, things that would help the bank with credit checks, handling accounts, onboarding people, all these different things that are critical for the bank. Banking operations were all built by people that were not regular software developers, but just use these drag and drop visual tools to build these applications. So it's becoming an important part of different organizations. So let me tell you what the challenge is here, what we see. And this is why when I was out there looking at the citizen development landscape, and Project Management Institute is really invested heavily in this. When I look at this, we've got people that are citizen developers, and the idea is we want them to build more valuable apps that contribute to the organization's strategic goals. We want to train these citizen developers in essential skills, because they don't need the technical skills, but you got a lot of these folks that kind of self-taught, built, they just play around with Microsoft Power Platform, they play around with Salesforce, they play around with some of these tools, and they build these kind of one-off applications, and they're not thinking about, well, how does this affect my customers? How does this affect the organization? How does this, fit in with the strategic goals? And this is where training can be an incredible partner here with the citizen developers and with the organization by developing capabilities academies. And if you haven't heard that term, it's from Josh Burson, a lot of great work about capabilities academies, but just think about your normal training programs to help train these citizen developers in essential skills. It's not the technical skills they need, it's the soft skills, the power skills, I like to call them, on working with customers, developing empathy, design thinking, marketing, and customer education. That's what's really important. So it's kind of the product management, product design. I'm going to pause here real quick and see if there's any questions or comments right now. So David, do we have anything in the chat?
Yes, we've got a comment from Angela who says it sounds like a great job crafting opportunity for folks who want to build their career.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a lot of folks that are citizen developers, they are business analysts, they're marketing representatives. I worked with one fellow who's a citizen developer, works at the Department of Labor, has built amazing applications in Power Platform. He doesn't have any IT background whatsoever. He's a major in not citizen, but criminal justice. He was a criminal justice major and went through graduate school with that. And he comes into this office and he just found this Power Platform tool and he had to have all this stuff built. And the IT department didn't really want to talk to him because it was just, they were so busy with big projects. He taught himself and he is just, churning out all kinds of great applications to help his organization deal with workflow, getting reports in, handling documents. And when I talked to him and I said, and this is one of the reasons that's kind of sparked my interest a couple of years ago, is like, these folks need to understand product management and they need to understand design thinking. They need to understand now how to serve their customers, because right now, a lot of folks, and I did the same thing when I was building my WordPerfect macros, I was serving myself. But the citizen developers, they're rapidly becoming an important part of the organization's IT ecosystems. Survey after survey, Gartner, Tech Republic, all these ones are saying that organizations are relying heavily on their citizen developers. And the impact of citizen developers has grown, and that's great. But there's also, with the power of these tools, and kind of quoting Spider-Man here, with great power comes great responsibility. These folks can be very harmful to the organization if they don't do things like pay attention to cybersecurity, or they don't work with the IT folks on the IT governance structures. And again, sometimes the citizen developers, and I've run into this before because I've been a citizen developer for a while, is you hear from the IT department this term, I don't know if anyone's heard this term, shadow IT. And they're worried about people going off and doing their own things and not being part of the IT department, or at least telling the IT department what they're doing. So another thing that the training department can do is train these folks in these essential soft skills, these power skills. They can also help become a liaison between the citizen developers and the IT department. And I know that sounds like, wow, how can the training department help both of these folks work together? Well, you're training these citizen developers to work with the IT department, and you're learning the IT governance stuff and showing why this is important to handle cybersecurity and all this. So I see an incredible growth opportunity here for training and development specialists and training and development departments. That's why at the Navy, I've started instituting some citizen development training ourselves, because we got people playing with the Power Platform tool, and that's great. And now we want to get people to, okay, if you're going to build applications for the whole organization, you need to understand how to do this with design thinking and stakeholder management, all these different things, the project management stuff that we trainers are good at helping people learn.
Bill, I want to jump in to
Sure.
log a couple questions for you.
Sure.
Got a question from Al, which is, who certifies/runs the capability academies?
Okay.
And then we've got a question from Jim. I'll let you know what these are, and then
Sure.
see where you want them to fit in. And then Jim asks, where do you find the tools to do the dragging and dropping to build the apps?
Oh, great question. So the first one, who credentials it? The Project Management Institute right now, I went through their program and they have 3 citizen developer certifications. So you've got an outside authority out there, and I'll show in a moment what their book looks like. And you can do it that way. And also with the Navy one, we're basically working on what we need for certification, what we need the people to know, and practicing good practices. So you can do that kind of homegrown, your own certification, just getting folks into what kind of competency framework they need and the things they need to work with. And then the second one, where's these tools? Microsoft Power Platform. You can go online, Google that, and you can download that and play with that for free. And I'm sorry about my PowerPoint keep running like this. But anyway, this is the case study I talked about, the Bendigo Bank. Just want to show you how they really had some massive mission critical applications there. I'm going to jump right back to this. And want to follow up with your question, there's also a bunch of stuff online. Bubble.io, I use that a lot, but there's a Dello, there's Salesforce again. So if you go in and look at low code, no code, go into the Google, and just type it in, you'll find all kind of tools, because that marketplace is growing fast. And there's a lot of people trying to grab that marketplace. And if you like Google, they have one thing I like to use is App Sheets. I use that actually to teach in class. And there's a video that you'll get that I sent to you all, and this is from a course that I teach. And it's just an 8-minute snippet, and I basically show you in 8 minutes how to use Power Platform, Microsoft's Power Platform, to build a no-code, low-code application. And you can follow along right with that. So according to this, and it's just more evidence here for us, Mendix 2021 survey. Basically, this is in 6 countries, and 56% of the employees are using citizen developed apps. And again, that was 2021. I've seen this jump up, so it's just an amazing growth market here. And when they survey these folks, they're using them for mission critical operations. And I know I keep saying mission critical, mission critical. The reason why it's important is because these are the strategic goals the organization's trying to achieve. And as you all know, as learning and development professionals, if we can get in there, that gets us a seat at the table, and we say, hey, you got these folks that are building mission critical operations for you, mission critical applications. We want to help them train them better, because look at what they're doing right now, just without the training. They're reducing application costs by 53%. They're delivering 56% faster than your traditional software projects out of your IT department. Think what they could achieve when we train them. And we train them how to do these different things. So I'll show you one different training program. This is from Project Management Institute. And then I'll show you another one that I use. So kind of recapping our insights here. We've talked about how they're becoming an important part of the organization's IT ecosystems. Their impact is growing. I think I've shown you enough statistics on it. And you can also see why it might be dangerous unless we start training these folks and building that partnership with IT that they need. So we're going to talk more about, well, here's the skills they need and why we think they need these skills. So again, I'm talking about Project Management Institute. They have launched, I think since last year, TIRE program on citizen development. This is the handbook I used, and I have 2 of their certifications. There's a foundations class, doesn't really count as a certification, but I got all 3 of their certifications. This is the book that I use to learn about it. And it's not the technical stuff. It's more about how to handle folks that are citizen developers, how to integrate them into your operations, how to work with them in your strategic goals. So when you take a look, they have a maturity model. And the idea here with the maturity model, and I bet right now with a lot of the folks that didn't know there were citizen developers in an organization, you're probably still in the discovery stage. You might have pockets of people here and there that are, oh, hey, let's do this with this cool tool. Let's do this with that neat tool. And they're doing little projects here and there. And they start, this is kind of where discovering the power. And then with my friend at the Department of Labor, he's doing experimentation. So people are starting to become aware of it, and they're starting to see how it kind of works, and it's becoming kind of departmental. It's confined to a department. At the adoption stage is when the organizations start thinking, okay, this we can use, this is something we can work with. They start formalizing it. And one of the things that the Project Management Institute talks about when you formalize is you start setting up a community of practice. Sounds like something perfect for us in training and development to set up that community of practice for folks. You might get a citizen developer architect and strategist to come together and help you start adopting and start formalizing how we build these products, these citizen development products. Then we start scaling them up, and then we start the innovation process. Okay, so this is what, this is starting bringing the order out of chaos here. And this is what a lot of organizations are seeing as, yeah, these people are doing things, they're working, they can be very valuable and beneficial. So we want to, uplift the value they give us and make sure that we can, take down any kind of harmful benefits they have if we're not letting them, not having some kind of governance structure. So the Project Management Institute, they have a citizen development canvas, and it goes from project delivery, capability delivery. And don't worry if you don't know what these terms mean, because a large part of this is just the project, building a project and such. But when you start putting these together, one of the things I looked at when I went through the training is Do you see the power of soft skills? So this hyper agile SDLC, that stands for software development lifecycle. All that really means is, how do we go from a vision? How do we get people to weigh in on that vision? How do we help develop that product? So there's some project management training, some agile project management training. Ideation 2.0, that's your design thinking right there. And actually, it looks a lot like design thinking. Suitability assessment, we start talking to our customers. Is this app going to work for them? That's when we start developing the empathy, the design thinking piece, and kind of working with our customers and interviewing our customers. So it's a lot more product and product management and development. And then enterprise risk requirements, application development. Again, this looks like this may be too technical for the training department, but again, your role can come in to help. How can we help people learn more about business analysis and design? How can we help them learn about risk requirements, just a base risk management class? So this is where training and development folks can jump in and start filling in those gaps for folks. And then we get to the part where we have the operating model, conceptual design, supporting citizen development, managing the culture. This is more training and development kind of stuff we can do, the power skills, helping create the culture. IT governance is an enabler, helping kind of work that great relations between the IT department and the citizen developers. And the citizen development value tree, basically helping the organization realize the value for the products. Again, a lot of stuff, I'll go ahead and admit that person, a lot of stuff that training and development folks can say, here's the competencies we need. We can develop a competency framework for our citizen developers. Here's how we'll fill in that competency framework. So I'm going to pause here and see if there's any questions or comments.
Perfect timing. Yes, we've got a couple questions. First from Reiko. Are the people who are acting as citizen developers doing this as an expanded part of their role? Do they reside within their functions, or is this something that people do as a full role?
Great question. And actually, I'm going to pop back here and go back through our maturity model, if that's okay. In many cases with the discovery and experimentation, it's people doing it just on their own little personal products or projects. They may be doing outside of hours. It's kind of like a long time ago when I was building those WordPerfect macros, I was working as a paralegal, Kentucky Environmental Protection Cabinet. And I was doing that on my own hours, learning how to use WordPerfect and make those macros, because I wanted to speed up the processing of legal complaints and all these other documents I had to create. So when they're in the discovery and experimentation stage, there's really no one that has a formal role as a citizen developer. It's kind of informal. It's like, if you got some time or you're trying to find a quicker way to do things, that's what people do. So they kind of, sometimes it's kind of like they're not really telling their supervisors, they're just kind of playing with this stuff, and then they show it, okay? And then when you get to the adoption stage, the scaling stage, and the innovating stage, you start seeing citizen development become part of people's actual position descriptions. And I haven't seen many organizations that have a full-time citizen developer. It can become a major part of what people do. It can become a major piece of their job. And sometimes organizations, according to PMI, there's very few I've seen right now, still kind of growing, will have a full-time citizen developer business architect that is more of a kind of a senior leader on this, or they may have a citizen developer strategist if your organization really, is using a lot of those different applications, like the Bendigo Bank case study. So that's a great question. And what was the second question you had?
The next one is from Tim. How does an organization protect itself from malicious code like a Trojan horse?
Absolutely. That's why it's so vital, because these folks, and a lot of times with citizen developers, they're not malicious. I call it sometimes benign neglect. It's like they're so excited about what these tools can do. They build applications and they don't think about the cybersecurity implications, and they don't go through a security check because, they probably went to the IT department in the first place trying to see if they can get this built. And the IT department said, well, sorry, we're too busy. We can't help you. And the guy, the person goes and says, okay, I'll just create my own application. And they do. And I can tell you from an IT program or project manager long time ago, there's ways of code so you don't build in the vulnerabilities, ways to protect your database, ways to protect, way people enter information into your screens. And a lot of the tools are good. They help protect you, but they're not perfect. So that's why it's important to, and we say IT governance is an enabler, getting a good relationship between the IT department and the citizen developers so that citizen developers understand the rules of the road and how to make a safe and secure citizen, no code, low code app, and also to make sure we test it and, make sure that we look for, the common pitfalls when you're deploying an application, ways of testing it, making sure it's secure, that kind of stuff. Great question. And again, that's why, training and development can come in here and say, hey, let's offer some courses on cybersecurity and all these other things that people need to be aware of. They don't have to be technical experts in it, but at least conscious of, when I'm creating that app, am I locking the front door like I should? Am I using passwords like I should? Some good, what we call, and I just had a talk today with our data officer, good data citizen practices. You're not a data developer, but you're a data citizen. And what kind of good practices should you practice? So this one here, now that was the Project Management Institute. This is something I built a few years back, a Lean Scope project management methodology, kind of a similar idea. And with this, I use this as a basis for my training programs when I'm doing citizen development. And this comes from design thinking, also agile project management, something called discipline agile. And the whole concept here, and you don't have to look at all the boxes there, you can look at them later, but the idea here is to help people. How do I get the stakeholders into the room with me? How do I develop an app with them? And how do I make sure that I can scale the app up so that it can work and handle the load it needs to handle? And how do we test the app? And we use iterative testing to make sure that it's reaching the goals of what people want. And that's why we have the charter project overview statement and all these different things. And we use some design thinking methods and such. And then we have our dashboards. We have some data analysis and data analytics to see how the thing is operating. So that's just another example of how you can build something like this and build competency frameworks out of whatever kind of project management methodology you want to use, or citizen development management methodology. So Project Management Institute kind of jumped in early before everyone else, but I'm seeing other folks building their own citizen development management methodology that fits their organization. And when I look at this, these different frameworks, this is what I'm arguing that are the citizen developer essential skills. And we're talking about design thinking. I talked a lot about that. The idea of stakeholder management, product development management, agile project management, customer education. And if you're familiar with customer education, it's not just training your customers how to use your product, but helping to educate them so they can use the product more effectively and discover solutions on their own. So again, I want to pause and ask the audience here, and you can monitor the chat for me, or you can speak out. What am I missing here? What else do you see? Now, I know you are new to citizen development, and I've shown you a lot of stuff here, but as training and development specialists, you got someone as a citizen developer, they're building these mission critical applications for the organization. What else should we be training them in? David, do we have anything in the chat?
Yes. We just got customer services from Josh.
Customer services, part of customer education. And yes, customer service and customer education, a lot of times people conflate the two, but you're right. They're actually different. And it's being able to serve the customers, right? And being good, being able to actually understand the customers and what they really need. Any other skills?
Yes. Josh is clarifying meaning dealing with the public. Angela is saying analytics, and Donisa is saying potentially implementation.
Yes, right, exactly. Because again, the thing is that citizen development is maturing. And again, people are having to think, okay, I built this application for myself. So my friend in Department of Labor, he built this application. It helps him get through the job. And then other departments are using it. They're copying it. They love it. And now it's like, okay, I'm not just building for myself anymore. I'm building for others. And I now own this application. And got to say this, I'm a cat lover. And I tell folks, it's kind of like when you adopt kittens. So I've got a kitten now, and I'm giving out kittens to other folks. Now I got to take care of them, right? Same thing with these applications. I built an application, it works for me. Other people are using it. Now they have different needs. And I have become, not just myself, but more kind of a company providing applications. And then, I become an entrepreneur. So one thing I argued with someone is we should have entrepreneur skills training. how to grow a little company inside your company. So any other suggestions?
Yeah, I got a few more for you. We've got business acumen from Reiko.
Mhm.
Jim
Mhm.
says engagement and consensus building. And then
Mhm.
Josh says teaching the customer how they can take your application and use it within different industries.
Yes. Yeah. You see what's going on here, right? So it's almost like, that's why we brought in the product development and management. Again, the person's role is growing and it's becoming more critical, and you're serving more folks, and you have to kind of be more expansive. So you're having to do that kind of entrepreneurial, the business acumen. Love that. Yeah. So there's a lot of different skills here. And I got to say, I've been in a lot of training departments, been a trainer for many years and college professor. And, I've been doing training development, ran a bunch of training departments. And one thing I always want to make sure I have, because I've been doing this before, and I'm pretty sure a lot of you folks have been through this, when they want to cut budgets, when they want to scale back, and, any organization here, when they want to cut budgets and scale back, they start looking at training and travel. That's what we always say in government, training and travel, TNT. And I always want to say, no, you can't cut me back, because look at the value I'm bringing to you. And what I'm saying to the training and development folks is citizen development is growing. It's now a big part, and we can be a very big part of this and help our organizations and help our citizen developers and help our customers, and be a vital part of our organization. So yeah, there's a little piece of survival in there, but there's also helping these people fully realize their potential, and realize the value they bring to the organization. So when I talk about a Citizen Development Capabilities Academy, this is kind of the stuff that I'm talking about. And this comes from Josh Burson's definition. I know pretty much most of you probably know who Josh Burson is. And I thought this is perfect for when we build these capability academies. And I'm trying to build one now at the Navy Inspector General's office. And the reason why is because we don't want to, as the citizen development grows and people are maturing in their skills, we want to have kind of feedback to help us grow. Well, what else do we need to do? What else do we need to help these people become successful? And that's why you have all these different pieces here, okay? Subject matter experts, external content instructors, because we got a lot of things we got to teach them. And it may help the training department be able to reach out to some outside experts and outside consultants to bring in that external content that people need. A big piece of this is mentoring and coaching. And that's why the community of practice, that's one reason why the community of practice is championed by the Project Management Institute, because with citizen development, and as we all know, things like leadership development and design thinking, you just can't take a class, you're one and done. You need people to kind of help mentor and coach you. And the same thing with the citizen developers, developing business acumen. Again, it can be a one and done class, sure, but also the mentoring and coaching really helps you do that. And, as the organization grows and they build these different applications, and these applications kind of build on each other, they're constantly adapting, and it's helping us, kind of think about what's the new thing that we need. And think about when we're going out now to recruit people. All right. So we're looking for a business analyst. We're looking for a marketing person. We're looking for an HR assistant. And we're also asking them to do some citizen development. Now there's a different kind of set of skills that we need to look at, and a different way to mix those skills in. So that's why I think the Citizen Development Capabilities Academy, we need something that can give us a feedback and feedback to us what we need to know and what we're seeing, so that we can help refine and mature and grow our citizen developers. So just kind of summarize here for you some insights and what we talked about. So again, citizen developers are becoming a major part of our organizations. It's one survey after another. I showed you it's going to be a multi-billion-dollar business out there. Our organizations are more and more dependent because we just don't have enough software developers. And citizen developers have amazing powers. They can do a lot for organization. They can also do a major amount of harm. And what we need to do is we need to capture the potential of those citizen developers. And training and development is perfect for that, because we can teach them the essential skills they need to fully realize their value and their potential and help our organizations work better. So that's my argument. Those are the insights I brought in. And I wanted to give you one bonus insight for the training and development folks out here. How can learning and development professionals benefit from citizen development? Because, one of the best ways for us to teach these folks and to help work with them is to essentially, eat our own cooking, right? So a couple of things here, and I've actually built a couple of these. Onboarding app. We can build onboarding apps ourselves in the training and learning and development department. In that video I sent to you all, it's actually an employment engagement survey, but you can use that and you can use the same template to build an onboarding app. And like I said, the employment engagement app, now I started from a template, but in 10 minutes, I built a nice employment engagement survey that goes on the phone. You collect the information and you can analyze it. And then this mobile leadership development course app. I love this one. And there's actually a great tool out there now that kind of makes this even easier, where it's you can do it on a mobile phone. It provides these little cards and you can put video in there and you can put assessments. And, you know, it's like if you've worked with Articulate Rise, I'm pretty sure most of you have, it's all template based. You can build something pretty quickly and you've got a mobile leadership development course app that you can deploy pretty quickly. And you can use it for specific situations. So when I was at the US Patent and Trademark Office, I was in charge of the supervisor certificate program. I was working on a mobile app to help our supervisors handle better, handle the performance review process better. And it was just kind of a simple app that reminded you, it's more of a checklist and also gave you tips on how to handle that performance conversation. So, let's do a little brainstorming here. We got some time. What other applications do you think that you guys can build using these tools? All right, or just, think about, and some of these tools are just as easy as putting together a PowerPoint presentation. What are some mobile apps or some online apps that would be helpful for you guys in your learning and development programs? We can throw those in the chat. And while we're doing that, I'm going to give you my contact information. Please feel free to contact me. And there's my LinkedIn. Feel free to link in with me. I love to talk to people and chat with you. And, just share what my journey is, because I want to tell you, I'm still on the citizen development journey. I'm still learning a lot about it, and it's a fascinating industry. So, David, do we have any ideas for L&D professionals in the chat?
No. Yep. I've got one idea so far and also two questions from a little bit before. So
sure.
While we're on the idea track, Reiko is suggesting a learning or development journal that includes goals, tracking progress with reminders.
Oh, I love that. Yeah. I actually use OneNote, and I used to hand out OneNote notebooks because OneNote's a great little application, and that's a low-code, no-code tool, though. You can embed video, you can embed audio, you can embed PDFs, and then I would recommend to folks, I have different tabs. Hey, what did you think about this lesson? Write up, what you think. And that was a really easy thing to just deploy on our SharePoint system. What's your two questions?
The first question is also from Reiko. How does the citizen developer get feedback on their apps? Developers who distribute their apps through app stores get feedback in a centralized way. How does that work with the citizen developers' work?
That is a great question. And I like that's why when someone mentioned we have to have analytics too as part of their training, that's a perfect way. One way you can do it is you can actually build in an evaluation system into your app, and people can send you feedback that way. Another way is, and I'm actually talking with our own folks because we have the Microsoft Power Platform. We collect analytics on when is it used, who's used it, how long have they used it, and these kind of these are automated. They just scrape the data out for me and shoot it back to a Tableau-like interface, and we can develop a dashboard. So there's all kinds of different ways to do that. And that's a great idea too, or that's a great question, because it's also making the developer think, okay, I just developed this myself. I know if I like it or not. But if you're deploying this out enterprise-wide, it's mission critical, you need to think about, okay, now how do I actually collect feedback? And how can I use that feedback? So that's a great question. What was your second one?
The second one is from Al. Do you have any case studies of harm done to an organization?
Yes, I can shoot you a few of those. Again, and all you have to do, if you want to see harm, Google Shadow IT, and you'll have plenty of IT professionals telling you about the great harm of runaway processes and folks that have built these applications and they left and no one else knew how to work with them. I can give you a couple of personal anecdotes. I remember a long time ago, I was building an application and it worked on these Palm Pilots. Well, y'all remember the Palm Pilots? And what happened is the little thing would go in there and it would collect information. It would just collect these text files. And that's how it analyzed the performance of the app that I was building. And what I didn't realize is that my little thing, just think of it as a vacuum cleaner, and I dropped it into the server. And when it goes into the server, it's sucking up text files, and it was just consuming all kinds of server resources. So all of a sudden the IT department, cybersecurity comes after me. What did you just do? What have you done here? There's an example of runaway process. More recently, I worked for a agency just a few months, and I was working with them to basically the person that was before me had a HR information reporting system, and it was built on Excel and Access because he was getting dumps from an old COBOL mainframe. And he was building reports of Access and Excel. And the thing is, he didn't document. It was all for him. He didn't document anything. He didn't have any, even Post-it notes. So when I inherited this, I looked at this thing and it was a spaghetti code. So, it's just this real confusing collection of code and all these different things that he built in this Excel Access spreadsheet. And we never knew actually how it worked. And we just had to scrap that and just build something from scratch using SharePoint. And we made sure to document each way. So yeah, if you want to look at the horrors of this, shadow IT, all you have to do is say shadow IT to your IT department tomorrow and watch them just shrivel because it just scares them. But yeah, we've seen organizations, go under because of this, because someone built an application and people were able to come in the back door and get valuable records and such. I mean, I hate to say this, I work in the federal government, but if you all read about the OPM data breach a few years back, that was a back door. Someone didn't secure their application and Foreign Power was able to come in and just suck out civilian personnel records. Lots of scary examples out there. Any other questions or comments?
We have a question from Reiko. What role does the centralized IT organization play with the work of citizen developers, if any at all?
Well, they play a very vital role. And the reason why is they're the folks that have the IT governance. So they handle the IT, the infrastructure for your organization. Okay. So they have the rules of the road. They're the ones that secure, the cybersecurity, and they still have a role. And when you look at the citizen developer manual that the Project Management Institute puts out, in some cases, your citizen developers can prototype what they want, but there's going to be some more advanced, sophisticated coding that needs to be done. And the IT department can kind of come in and say, okay, we see where you're going with this. We see your prototype. We can now scale it up for you. So IT is not going to go away. The whole organization is not just going to turn everything over to citizen developers. Okay. I mean, I've seen some that could do that, but in most cases, your IT folks are going to play a really valuable role. And to be very honest here, I have some friends of mine that are very good software developers. They love the low code, no code tools because it gives them a running start and it helps them build what they need to build. And it saves you a lot of time. I mean, when I was a project manager, I used to have I'm dating myself again, my magic USB stick with all my code samples and templates and everything. And when I go to a new job, I'd have this and I wouldn't start from scratch. I would just kind of build from that code system. So, the IT department will still play an important role. And that's why it's vital that you have a good relationship between the IT department because they handle the rules of the road and the citizen developers because they can help bring in that extra, talent that's needed. And plus the thing that citizen developers bring in because they have the subject matter expertise and they understand their, the business problems they're trying to solve. It can save time in building the apps because these folks know exactly what they need and what they're going for. So I hope that helps. I hope that answered that question.
Thank you. Yeah, there are no more questions in the chat.
Great.
And also, I guess I should say last chance to pitch your idea for other apps you could build that would be helpful in learning and development programs.
Mm-hmm.
So going once, twice, etc. for anybody who would like to share an idea or a question.
Well, I think I threw a lot at them. So yeah, take some time and think about it. And, again, start small. The best applications, and I learned this as an IT project manager, don't try to boil the ocean all at once. Start small, start with a few things that you need to solve, and then you can build upon it. And that's the beauty of citizen development. Someone builds a kind of, oh, here's a really cool tool that can handle this for me. And, oh, could we add this feature? Yeah, sure, we can add this feature in, and you start kind of evolving it up. And this is how agile project management came around, the iterative process, because I used to be in the old days of traditional project management. And we would build, and I was at Social Security Administration, we would build what we call the Battlestar Galactica systems, right? These humongous systems with hundreds of features, and it would take years to get this thing built. And it was just an immense process. And yeah, we built some good ones. They were successful. But with Agile, I can grow it and I can check with the customers. Is this what you want? Is this what you want? And get closer to the solution you need and can use.
Well, you certainly have given us a lot to think about. We do have one more question from Tim, which is, what are the expectations for pricing? And then we have another question after that.
Expectations for pricing. Could you explain a little bit more what you mean there? If you want to open your microphone, Tim, that'd be great.
Yeah, well, eventually you're doing this so you can make some money, and without a visibility of the market, how you may know one or two customers that you go to directly, or maybe building something in general. How does the pricing model work?
Yeah, that's a great question. So, it could be like traditional IT project or IT, sales, product management. You can build like a freemium model. So you've been on a lot of websites out there, right, where they have these tools, and you can use a free version, which has a few of the features. And as people get more and more used to it, you can kind of say, okay, if you want a few more features, we can add those on, and you pay a little bit more of a subscription fee. So it's kind of like the traditional marketing. So if you're talking about building a no-code, low-code, which there's a lot of companies that did that and kind of have built their companies around that, that's the way they usually go, from a freemium to premium pricing model, okay? And then most of the time with folks that do the no-code citizen development stuff, it's usually internal. So you have an internal market. Okay. And you're really kind of not, you're not selling it to the company or, giving it out to the company as much. It's just kind of part of your job. Now it can get you a promotion and get you moved up. So that may be the way you get paid. But, you bring up a great point there, because there's several, I'm just thinking right now, it came to my mind, 37 Signals. And 37 Signals is one of these folks that build great low code, no code products, and they've been around for a while. And many of their products were because they built them internally for themselves. And then people say, this is so good, we should sell this. And that's how they kind of did it. So does that answer your question, Tim?
Yeah, it gives me an idea. Thanks.
Oh yeah, if you go into bubble.io, one of the big things they sell you is like, yeah, here's how you can make your own company, and here's how you can sell things. And you don't even have to build an entire low code, no code app. There's a whole marketplace where you can just build features that people can plug into their apps and use. So if you have a great idea for, I don't know, I'm just a GPS thing, right? Or a maps thing, and that people can use in their components and for their major applications, you could do it that way. So yeah, if you're thinking about going the entrepreneurial route, that sounds good.
All right, let's keep it rolling with a question from Donisa. Operating as a citizen developer, I'm assuming you would relinquish ownership of apps you create while working at an organization.
Yeah, there you go. The intellectual property issue, right? And again, it depends on what kind of employment agreement you have, and if you use the company's tools. So for example, at the US Navy, I built some Power Platform apps. Yeah, the US Navy now owns those because I use their servers. I use their version of Microsoft, Office 365. And, as a government employee, a lot of my stuff, if I build it on government time, it's now the property of the taxpayer. So you're welcome there. And, that's part of it. But if you want to save your own applications, if you want to build your own low code, no code tools, you can, of course, sign up. And I've done this too with my company, sign up for a subscription to Bubble.io or my own SharePoint instance. And I can build the tools, and it's all my own intellectual property because it's on my time with my own tools that I bought and paid for. And I'm building it for my purposes, and I may put it out in the marketplace. So, and that's a great question there. Again, it's like, well, yes, if I'm an entrepreneur, I'm going to lose some of my property rights just because I'm working for the company on the company time. But if you want to do it entrepreneurial, there's ways to do that too.
And then a thought from Greg. He's thinking about how we can skill managers to best support citizen developers. And
Yeah.
therefore that, maybe there's some apps we could create for that.
That would be great. That's one of the reasons I had the leadership development app. And I do a lot of work with psychological safety and building trust and emotional intelligence. And that was kind of a coaching app for managers. Because one of the things when you got citizen developers out there and you want them to be innovative and you want them to try new things, you really got to have those good coaching and mentoring skills so that people will learn from failure, rebound from failure, or learn how to, I tested this, it didn't work the way I wanted, but I can pivot it this way. So yeah, that's an excellent idea. And there's a great app for you, an app to help leaders learn more about psychological safety and trust.
We had a resurgence of questions as we were starting to wrap up. We've got maybe time for one more question if there's anything on anyone's mind, if you want to pop it in chat or come off mute. We've got some thank yous coming in.
Yeah.
Josh and Jim.
Mm-hmm. Well, I hope this is useful. And I hope a lot of folks see the great potential here, because one of the things, and I'm biased because I'm a training and development specialist. I'm in training and development. I just love the training and development field. And we have so much to offer our organizations. And we have so much to help shape them and bring them into the future, and it's just like, this is an area where we can really help people excel. And this is where training and development is such a vital part of it, helping people learn new skills and learn to work together with each other and to really, realize the potential of our folks to help our organization realize their strategic potential also. So I'm pretty evangelistic about this, as you can tell.
Well, thank you so much, Bill, for joining us and really sharing something that I think a lot of us hadn't really thought about or put into this context. So really appreciate that. And of course, really appreciate all of you joining us for our regional webinar this evening. If you enjoy regional webinars, want to make them a practice, next up is on April 27th, The Future of Talent Development. It's a panel sponsored by ATD NYC.
Great.
So yeah, a lot of thank yous coming in from we keep we keep inspiring questions right as we're wrapping. So yeah, final question before good night from Jim.
Yeah.
Has this broken down the silos between IT and business?
It has the potential. It has done it for some organizations. There's still some pretty tough ones out there. But yeah, I think this is helping people kind of see the power there and breaking down the silos, because you got to be able to share the information. You got to be able to share the data. And, part of the design thinking is learning how to do the empathy and building the trust and psychological safety you need for it. So, yeah. And, again, training and development is one of the great ways to break those silos. So. And I'm glad to take any more questions. If anyone, you have my email, please contact me. You can tell I love this subject, love to talk about it.
Fantastic. Yeah, really appreciate it. Hope everyone has a good rest of the day. And please do take Bill up on his offer. If you've got more thoughts or questions, sounds like he's making himself very available. So thank you very much for that.
Sure.
Have a good rest of the day, everybody. See you next time.
Okay.